So, hey everyone, I have a very special guest that I just met a couple weeks ago now, Linda.
Yeah.
I am with Linda Bean, who is with the Kelly Ann Dolan Memorial Fund. Linda, welcome and thank you for joining me today.
Oh, Shelby, it's my pleasure. Thank you. It was such a joy. Sometimes you meet people in your walks of life and you feel like you've known them forever. And I think we just made a connection, saw the
Yes,
world through a
ma'am.
similar lens. It was really pretty cool.
So, Linda, I had never heard of your foundation, your fund before, and I know a lot of people haven't. So I would like you to just explain what the Kellyanne Dolan Fund is and how it came about and the story behind it. Let's start with that.
You bet, you bet. And you may sometimes hear us in the community referred to as the Dolan Fund,
Okay.
but very special. Kellyanne Dolan Memorial Fund, named after a very special girl who unfortunately lost her battle with a rare form of leukemia back in 1976. She lived life in such a large way. She had these beautiful eyes. Jelly beans were her favorite. Her name actually means graceful warrior when you combine the derivatives of Hebrew and Gaelic together. And I think that just really ultimately defines the special little girl she was. She was in and out of hospitalizations. It wasn't easy, those 7 years of her life. And during that time, her parents, Peggy and Joe, met a lot of other families that were experiencing the struggle of having a child with a serious illness or a disability, and looking at the additional stressors that they faced. Not being able to be at the hospital because they could not get time off from work, having other children to care for, and they began to think about how lucky they were that they owned a family printing business and they were able to structure it so Kelly always had a parent with her at the hospital. And so, unfortunately, when Kelly passed back in 1976, Peggy and Joe said, our little girl, she was a beacon of life and larger than life in her short years. We want to do something to help these families. So it really started as simple as that, and a really generous church community in the Ambler area of Montgomery County through St. Anthony's. And all of a sudden, back in 1976, they were sitting with $6,000 or $7,000, and they looked at each other. What do we do? And so they decided they would start a foundation to help other families to lift their spirits and lighten their burdens, which is really our mission in a nutshell.
So let's talk about the families that you serve. What types of families are those?
Sure. So the families that we serve, very diverse. We serve families who are caring for a child who has a serious illness. So that could be anything from a rare genetic disease. It could be a child that has a heart condition, Down syndrome. Just about they're facing a tough battle with cancer. We're non-disease specific. We're non-disability specific. So when we're looking at disabilities, which is a word that I really struggle with, especially in modern time, because we're having very mindful discussions about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I like to take the dis out of disability when I talk about it, because I think a person living with a disability has unique and a lot of special gifts to offer
Amen.
the world. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
so we're talking about, autism or cerebral palsy, which, by the way, today I got a little bit of blue on today. Today happens to be World Autism Day.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And we've been doing a lot around autism. We partnered up with, you may actually know from the North Penn area, Ben Hartranft, who is one of the Eagles Autism ambassadors.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot around that. So we are non-disease, non-disability, non-injury specific, nor do we only serve a family that is at poverty line, working class, middle class. When you're faced with this catastrophic situation, especially with healthcare today,
Hmm.
there are, needs. And you think about your child, what lengths you would be willing to go to
Right.
for, a special clinical trial, or a child who's living with a disability. There are all sorts of innovative therapies that some that you wouldn't even think of that would make a difference. Nestled right in our community is Sebastian Riding Company.
Okay.
And they are just what you think, riding their equine therapy, and the strides and advances that children with what's considered pretty profound disabilities have made through that relationship and connection with an animal is incredible. So those are some of the families that we often see and help.
Now, you had said children with either disabilities or with disease or
Yeah.
any type of injury type thing. Um, are we stopping at a certain cutoff age? Are you considered an adult at 18? Are you considered, your child is always your child? So if you're caring for them and they're in their 20s, is there a limit to that for that family?
Yeah, that's a good question, Shelby. Loosely, yes, our guidelines go up to age 18, a child from birth to 18. However, from time to time, we have different funding sources through perhaps a corporate funder or a special grant that allow us to carry over, especially to the child who's living with a disability. That transitional age is a tough one. So we are, I like to think we are very compassionate, and we treat it on a case-to-case basis. It's also going to depend on the amount of financial resources that we have to disperse and make grants at the time.
Now, do you receive a lot of your referrals from outside agencies that are already working with families, and then they bring you to that family because, or are they seeking you out themselves? How does the family get connected with you?
Yeah, it's great. I'll kind of go over our model. We do get a lot of phone calls directly from families. However, we're set up, we're streamlined through working with either the Children's Hospital or the organization that the child is receiving treatment from. So if we get a call from a family, we certainly talk them through and support them. But then we guide them to get in touch with their healthcare professional. It's all done very easily through a very short process on our website, the dolanfund.org. They just, hit the healthcare professional button, which it's not too arduous. That they are really just providing information about the child's condition, some demographics, maybe some specifics about why the family is struggling financially, what their need is. Do they need a special tablet? Do they need a medicine? Do they need to pay their electric bill? We have many families who have a child who is trach dependent. So imagine for a second, you have Pico breathing down your neck because you owe, you're in arrears, and it's 90 degrees in July. That environment needs to be climate controlled. It's a matter of life and death for a child. So those are the sorts of things. But then things like specialty camps, which will help the child continue to grow and thrive. Respite. Think about it. If you're a caregiver 24/7 for a child with an illness, or a disability that requires a high level of care and supervision, you need an outlet. You need
Right.
others to be able to come into your home and work with your child and just give you a little bit of a break.
Well, and you had mentioned that you have a program for caregivers that because they need some love and attention too. I can't. I am very blessed with the children that I have that I've never been in that position, and I can't imagine. And now COVID. I mean, it's just it's crazy.
It is. It is what, you've seen it heightened through all the national news and local programs. We're seeing a lot of kids transition back to school towards the end of the year. That has not been the case for most children living with a special need. They have been home for a solid year and completely cut off and isolated from, any social engagement. But now all of a sudden, the parent 24/7, they're required for schooling and all of the care. So we really want to show the love to our parents out there that they're not alone. So we've created a series. We've done two so far, which is a caring for the caregiver support group. It's being done virtually right now. Hopefully once we move to a vaccinated world, we can do some of these things in person with them. We've had a local husband and wife who are psychotherapists in Philadelphia lead these two caregiver groups, and the feedback has not only been just incredible, but the light bulbs in not feeling as if they're alone. And really the beautiful thing that's really come out of it that we've heard through the social workers and caseworkers, of these families, these parents have connected with one another. They've spent, an hour and a half with us, but then they've exchanged information and they can go on to support one another when one is having a tough day. Or, we often see them, one may know of a resource that someone hasn't heard of, so they can point them in the right direction of getting something that will really offset a little bit of that stress that the family is feeling.
Now you're a nonprofit, and again, COVID came about, and all of a sudden, I'm sure a lot of your fundraising and things of that sort that you had planned have been changed. And do you have anything going on in 2021 that you'd like to share with everybody that they might be able to, look into and maybe support, so that your great cause of what you've been doing for almost 45 years now, which is insane. What other opportunities do they have to help you right now?
You bet. Thank you so much. We do. As everyone else has, we've pivoted to a virtual world right now, because even as things are transitioning back to in person, we know people's comfort level is varying. So we have an event coming up in May, on Wednesday, May 19th in the evening, just for an hour. It's called Compassionate Communities Count. And I just want to backtrack for a second, because I have to show the love to the Dolan Fund is here where we are today because of the loyal and generous support of small businesses and individuals and families. And I think that's really important. I know, Shelby, we're part of some of the same networking groups.
Right.
And often what I do as the outreach coordinator, I want to shift the mindset as we do in networking, where we want you to shop local, support small businesses, support the small charity.
Right.
Because when you're supporting the charity that lives and serves the neighborhoods that you're part of, the people that you break bread with, go to church with, go to synagogue with, that your kids play ball with, your neighbors. I mean, I just feel it's so much more impactful.
Right.
And it's not to dismiss, any contribution that goes to a charity on a national level. But if you're giving local, it's going to help the families that you care about within your communities. So
Right.
that's why we kind of named this event Compassionate Communities Count, because we're really blending that mindset of charity and business. So that's just going to be a night of fun on the 19th. Virtually, it's a free event.
Okay.
We're really raising money through our sponsorships, through our donate button that night, and a small but mighty silent auction of raffle baskets
Okay.
that night. But we're going to be featuring a couple of families, a local business in the community that started a brewery as a place where their 2 adult sons now who live with autism would have a career. And
Very
they are
cool.
pretty, they are just, the Tom and Kelly Weiss are just phenomenal. Their mindset, they raised their sons with, no limits. And it was not an easy road
Right.
for them. So look for on our website that Compassionate Communities Count. Certainly, if there's anyone out there that wants to learn more about us, they certainly could donate that night. If there's a business that's listening that says, geez, I like the sound of this fund, I'd like to maybe sponsor that night. We'll be showing our love back through segments with the small businesses that are supporting us. We're going to have some fun trivia that night. So it's just going to be really a feel-good night.
That is awesome. And then you had mentioned another thing that you've been working on, shining a light.
Shining a light. So shining a light, you talk about being pushed out of your comfort zone. And funny enough, shining a light, I swear every Thursday at 11 when I get on, we're having some weather event in suburban Philadelphia. I'm still waiting for the sunshine.
Oh,
But
me
you know
too.
what? We make our own every week. And that was really a pivot early on. It started out to thank the small businesses, particularly the restaurant industry that's been really good to us. We have an annual event each year called Taste, where local restaurants and breweries and wineries, they come in, they donate in kind. We have about 350 people, tapas style. We had to cancel day of event, imagine, last year, 3 hours prior to going when the county was going into lockdown. So we started shining a light as the way to show love to them. You've been there for us. We're going to be there for you.
That's awesome.
What do you have? How can we promote you? And then when it became clear that this was not a pandemic that was going to be around for, we didn't even know it was a pandemic, right? But
Right.
wasn't going to be around for a couple of weeks as we thought, we needed to engage the community in a different way, to raise awareness, to support our families as well. So shining a light, each week it's a myriad. Some week it would be raising awareness. For instance, this week was an author from New York who chronicled life with her daughter, who's living with Down syndrome. She wrote a very humorous book of stories called The Upside of Downs. And she was my guest. Sometimes it's yesterday. Sometimes it's highlighting the real need of a family who is in the fight of their life with a child's health condition, as next week is going to be. Sometimes we're featuring a board member or a business supporter. So it combines awareness, inspiration, and those out there that really are supporting us.
And where can people tune into that on a Thursday? Is it on the website? Is it on Facebook?
Yeah.
Is it on YouTube? Where did we find that?
Sure. So you can tune in. You can start by liking the Kelly Ann Dolan Memorial Fund's Facebook page. Facebook allows you also to say, yes, I'd like to receive live alerts.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have it set to that, you'll get a reminder that anytime we're ready to go live. However, we post across our platform, so it will appear on Instagram and also LinkedIn as well. But you want to follow us through Facebook Live. We use this really cool platform that allows people to ask questions. Think of, when you're watching the Today Show and you're getting a news headline at the bottom, it's similar way. So we can
Very cool.
field those questions. So every Thursday at 11 on Facebook Live.
So Linda, do you think there's anything else that I should ask you that I may have forgotten to ask you that you want everyone to know before we turn down today?
I think it's, if there's a family out there, more feedback, Shelby, not a question, but if you're listening or you stumble across this on YouTube, everybody knows a family out there that has a child that is struggling with either a health condition or a disability, or has just experienced an injury. It's spreading the word. It's getting folks in touch. When we're small but mighty staff of 4. But as you mentioned, this has been our ongoing. It's like, geez, I haven't heard of you. So it's raising that awareness and sharing just in any of your walks of life. Oh, have you heard about the Kellyanne Dolan Memorial Fund? You should maybe contact them. They could support you in this way. And it's really to say, if there's a family out there, please, you're not alone. I can't imagine what it's like having been in those shoes of caring for a child that was injured with a lot of support and not having the financial stressors. We're here for you. Just reach out.
So guys, you know that this is going to be posted on my Facebook. You know that this is going to be posted on LinkedIn. It's soon going to become Shelby Showcase Podcast. For those of you that didn't know, that's happening soon. But please share this, because you guys all do know a family that could possibly need the assistance of the Kellyanne Dolan Foundation. So Linda, thank you so much for just taking the time this week to educate all of us. You guys are amazing, and it's just amazing the work that you're doing in the community. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Right back at you. You're a small business, and as I mentioned, the backbone. And for you to turn and want to do things for folks in the community aside from your day job,
it's all
and
about
your family.
I sell real estate on the side. My whole business is helping people. I mean, that's real estate's just a side job.
I love it. I'm excited to see what's to come. How could we can partner and support one another and spread the word more. So thanks for having me so much.
You are very welcome. And guys, I will be talking to you next week. Have a great week.